it's really a tough time, but we are there. ADRA, as soon as the incident started, we heard about Lytton, the town of Lytton that was devastated, burned. As soon as we heard about that, ADRA got together and we said, okay, we've got to be there. And we started ramping up. We started talking to the provincial government, Emergency Management BC, and we started setting up the operation. So our specialty, and you'll get more when I do the presentation, our specialty is the in-kind donation management. So anything which is not money, in a financial transaction or gift cards, we don't handle those. Red Cross usually handles those, but anything else that people will be sending, that's our job, is to receive them, sort them, and make sure they go to the people who need it. So that's, and we'll get into more details on that in a minute. But we are right now in BC. We've been able to find, with the help of the government, a warehouse in Coldstream, actually, which is about 15 minutes away from Vernon, very close. So we're setting up our base of operation there. And
okay, mine's working again.
Whoop. And we have some volunteers that are going to be helping us throughout this, and the government is going to provide the funding for this operation, at least in part. So that's where we are, and I'm happy to be here in BC and Vernon. My home base is usually Brampton, Ontario, but we're here, and my wife is sleeping in a little bit this morning. We had a big day yesterday, and so she's a bit tired. So apologize for not being here, but we will be working with the people here, very closely soon. And for people who are outside of BC, certainly. We are getting ready, not just for this, but we know there's things happening all around the country, and we want to be ready for any kind of emergency that happens. So the training is done in a way that it's going to be accessible for everybody. That's the idea. So there were a number of sessions. This is actually the third session in a series. The other ones we did were recorded. So if you didn't attend the other ones, it's not a problem. I'm just not going to go over a lot of the stuff that was on there, but you can still follow through with what I'm going to present here. I do suggest that at some time, if you can, go online and watch the other presentations that were for the other two sessions. They give you a good introduction into what ADRA does in the disaster response aspect and how the whole system works. I'm going to give you the aspect of the warehouse today mostly, because that's where we are in the series of session, and we'll have the warehouse set up here in Coldstream, very close to Vernon. So let me share the screen here, and we're going to get going with the presentation. So first, what I want to do is I want to go over the incident management. So we use, and all the agencies use, a system called the incident management system. It's good to have at least a basic understanding of what the incident management system is, because it tells you how we work. Okay, so yeah, there's somebody that's not on mute there and it's making a lot of background. Sorry, if you could please put your
yeah.
All right. So the incident management system is an international system for emergency management. Most agencies that are in the emergency management field use this system, and so we also will be using it at the same time. So there we go. Okay. So got to change it both sides here. So it's part of the national response in the U.S. as well, and it's used by most government agencies and NGOs in Canada. All municipalities in many provinces have to use it, and it's related to how the firefighters, police, EMS, how they operate, which is called incident command system. But because it's more of a management, we call it the incident management system. And it's mostly to assign job responsibility, divide the work so that it's easier and have a proper organization. That's what it is. And then we work within that at ADRA, we work with that as well. There we go. And it has a number of components. So there's a management plan. I'll go into those in a minute. Policies, organizational structure, there's job descriptions, there's a recruitment process, there's delegation. All right. A lot of it is actually based on funny enough, on Moses, and remember the whole passage about Jethro telling Moses, you're gonna burn out. We use it. The Bible doesn't use the term burnout. We use burnout today, but that's the reality. Having too many people to take care of. So there's a delegation, and that's the basis of it, funny enough, comes back to the biblical principles. So Jethro, instructed Moses or coached Moses on how to do it, and we've been using that kind of a system ever since. So that's the idea. So the management plan is really that nobody can manage an operation by themselves. I'm here, my wife is helping me, but we can't do it alone. We need other people to join us to work together. This is not a one-person operation, definitely. So having many, but once you start to have a lot of people, well, giving instructions, following can get kind of difficult. So that's why we have this management plan. Nobody is worn out, and it's very structured. So that's the idea, the general idea. There's policies and procedures, so there's ways we do things. And the good thing is that ADRA, we have a lot of experience. We started doing this back in the 1960s. Hurricane Andrew, and Hurricane Andrews was a huge situation. If you read about it or you heard about it, but ADRA at the time, as ACS, Adventist Community Services, were there in the States and started developing that program ever since, because the donation management was something that wasn't being done by anybody. So ACS took it on. And now ADRA in Canada is following the same thing. We've been at it for about 20 some years. The first operation we did in Canada was the Saguenay floods, 1996, and where we had 12 communities that were basically devastated by the floods, and we were there. And then we've done many since. You probably know about Fort McMurray. That was the last big one we did, was Fort McMurray fires. We were in Alberta, we were in Edmonton, and coordinating all of that response. But we've done others. We were the last one we did was actually in Ottawa, Gatineau, with the tornadoes. They had about 2 years ago, I think it was 2020. Is it 2018 or 20? Yeah, I never remember. Anyways, it was a couple of years ago. We had the tornadoes, and we were there. So we are, and now we're here today, and this month we've been here since for a few weeks already, and we're here in BC setting up an operation as well. So we have policies, procedure. We've been preparing for this for a long time. We know how to do this. There's a structure. I'm going to go over the structure in a few minutes, but it did determine nobody has like 50 people to supervise at the same time. It's all divided. The work is divided so that it is small groups, and one supervisor is not going to be overwhelmed by having too many people to supervise at the same time. So that's the idea. So let me show you the structure. What we've got is that, of course, we have the headquarters in. Let me just make sure I get. Okay, there we go. We have the headquarters. Of course, we're based out of Newcastle. ADRA has the main office, and so we have a team there that is supporting us remotely. Daniel, who's online with us here at the Zoom, is one of our best supporter. Really great. He's a project manager for ADRA, and he's been really spearheading a lot of the work that's happening back in Ontario. So that's the headquarters. The first element is, of course, the command, which is, we're using a lot of these first responder terms. Command may sound like a little harsh, but that's the system, and that's the way that it's understood. So command is the first, and that's usually somebody who's in charge of the whole operation. And then there's 4 main blocks. So let me show you on screen there the 4 main blocks that we've got. So there's an operation block, logistics, there's planning, and there's finance and administration. Those are the 4 blocks, 4 groups of people. Whoops, we're getting echo here. So the way that it works is that the headquarters, they basically make the decision to deploy, decide is this something that we want to get involved in or not, and they provide the support, national and any strategic decisions that need to be made. Then the command makes decisions on site and a lot of liaison with other agencies, with government, making sure that we're working in parallel with other groups. We don't work in isolation. We do work with the Red Cross, the Salvation Army, you name it, any agency that's out there that's working in disaster relief, we will work with them. And we work very closely with the government, of course, because they coordinate the overall response to the incident. So right now, the fire's here. But we have to make decisions ourselves and then coordinate those decisions with the other groups. So that's the command group. The operations group is basically in charge of receiving, sorting, and warehousing all of the goods. So again, this is all about in-kind donation management. We do occasionally, we're called in to respond and to do other tasks, but our primary role, the role for which we are really specialized and nobody else in Canada does this, is the in-kind donation management. So any physical donation, anything other than cash, we take care of. So we do the receiving, shipping, sorting, and warehousing of those goods. That's the operations group. At the same time, the logistics groups is there, and logistics is there to make sure that the workers, the volunteers that are working there, have everything they need. So equipment, supplies, facility management, working also with trucking companies for transportation aspect, all of those other pieces. There's a few people that are on logistics that's all they do is to make sure that we can do the work and we have the right tools to be able to do the work. So that's the logistics groups. Next we have the planning group. So the planning groups is a group that really prepares all the plan, how we're going to work, and does a lot of the scheduling, coordination on a daily basis, making sure that everything fits together. If we have a truck coming in, we have to have volunteers there to receive it. All of the timing aspect is done through that. And then making sure that if we're going to be sending things to another location, that there's people at the other end to receive them. So a lot of the scheduling and coordination is done by the planning group. And then at the end, when we're finished, that's the group that will plan how do we close the operation, how do we return everything, the equipment, all of that. So that's the and the last group we have Okay. Yeah, there's somebody that's not. I can't. I think there's a not you.
Okay, let's come in here. So we want to make sure everyone, before Elaine continues, please ensure that you are muted. So I have muted what I can override, but there are one or two people who I cannot mute. If you can please take a moment right now to mute yourself, ensure that your screen shows a mic in red that's crossed in the middle. Please do that right now, everyone. I know most of you are, so thank you. Please, I don't want to, I see some names. If you can do that right now. I think there's Ferguson Barnes. If you can mute yourself, please, we would really appreciate that. And I believe there is one more person here. Please mute yourself. Thank you, and I'll turn it back over to Alain.
Okay, thanks, Daniel. All right, yeah, I think it's much better. Okay, so so the last group is the administration and finance group. Of course, we're accountable. We have to keep track of all the monies that we do spend on this, both for ADRA's purpose, the Adventist Church, but also for government. If we're working with government and they will fund a good part of what we're doing, then we have to make sure that all our finances are in order. And so we have people that are doing that. Also the volunteer management, there's a whole registration process, and we have to make sure that the people that we get as volunteer, don't have a criminal record. There's all sorts of things like that. The safety and security aspect of the volunteers is all in there. So that's how we divide the work. And it's not just ADRA or us that do divide like that. All government and NGO have the same kind of division between operations, logistics, planning, and finance, or the four main blocks. And then there's a command group. So that's a pretty standardized approach to emergency management. And as you can see from the next chart here, each group has a number of people that will be working it. We also have a color code, which makes it easy to recognize people. So people in the command group are usually considered the green team. And we often have vests. We're trying to get them sourced from Vancouver, but we often have vests of that color. So if you're looking for somebody from the command team, you look for the green vests, and then you find them. So the operations group is red or orange. Apparently, I found out that in BC they actually use orange instead of red. So we'll adjust and we'll make it orange instead. But typically in a lot of the other provinces, red is for operations, blue is for planning, and yellow is for logistics, and gray for finance and administration. And it's pretty standardized so that if somebody comes from another agency and is looking for somebody in one group or another, because they're using the same color codes in other agencies, they can find the right people very quickly. So that's why the standardization of this system is really something which is good for us. And we said we'll adapt it, we'll adopt it, and work with the system as well. There's job descriptions that clearly define what everybody does. So we have prepared a one-page like bullet point and check sheet for every job, so that it's not a 10-page job description. As a volunteer, it's simplified so that everybody can have, and you just check off the things that you need to do if you're in that position. It's there you go. Okay, thank you. So we have job description for every position. It's very well detailed, explained so that people can find easily what they need to be doing in a job. And we have a recruitment selection process to make sure that the people that we're going to be putting in are screened. There are certain requirements, not just for us, but the province, the government wants us to assure that there will be no security issues, no safety issues. We're working with vulnerable people. We are working with children sometimes. So we have to make sure that we protect the people that we serve as much as possible. So we have to do a certain amount of screening, not too complex usually, but we have to have criminal record check done. Everybody has to have that in order to volunteer with us, and that's a requirement of both ADRA and the province, the government. And then we want to make sure that we're going to put people in jobs that they are able to perform. So we want to find out a little bit about what kind of skills, what kind of talent you have, particularly for supervisory and team leader kind of position. Most of the volunteers which are just on the ground, they're important people, but they may not need to have as much supervision skills or management skills. So we're not as worried about those. But as soon as you go up the chain a little bit, then we need to have people that have a certain set of skills to be able to do that. The other thing is delegation. So again, we don't want to burn out anybody. So a lot of the work that we do is done by delegation, transfer, to one person and little groups, so that it's not overwhelming to have too many jobs to do for one person. And so a lot of work, a lot of this is done through this giving the authority to people to do certain things. We keep records. We need to keep accurate records, both for ADRA and for the government. We could be audited, so we have to make sure that all of our documents are properly entered. So we have lots of different forms. We have volunteer records. You know, when you come in as a volunteer, you need to sign in, and then when you leave, you need to sign out. We need to know exactly when you were on site. There's all the question of the WorkSafe BC with. Even though you're a volunteer, you still fall under WorkSafe BC. So if you get hurt, there's insurance coverage as well. But in order to be able to get that, we have to be able to prove that you were actually working for us during that time, then the accident happened. So that's why keeping accurate records of timing in, out is extremely important, you know, and we need to have records for everybody. So I don't want to take too long on all of this, but those are the main aspects. Now, usually when ADRA Canada responds to a location, there we go, we send what we refer to as an advanced team. So basically this time, my wife and I, we've been here now for almost 2 weeks, and to set up, to negotiate with the government, make arrangements, find a warehouse. We signed the lease actually on I think it was Thursday or Friday this week. We signed the lease with the warehouse to then determine the layout, how the warehouse is going to be set up, to get furniture, to get equipment, to work with transportation companies to arrange that. So there's a lot of work that needs to happen before we can actually start the operation, and Nicole, and then to find volunteers. So you know, we've been working with the BC conference on that. We have on our website as well a registration process. If you haven't had a chance to do that, please go and check it out. But we do have a whole process. So we've been there, and now we have a couple more people from ADRA. Our communication team is on the ground now, and then our finance is going to be coming in. Daniel from our head office is coming in later this week as well. So our team is coming together, and then we're building the process, building the system, getting everything we need. And then we are aiming to be ready to start fully operational by Wednesday of this week. So now it may sound like it takes a long time, takes 2 weeks to get set up. One of the things that we can't really set up until the government gives us a green light, and I don't know if you've worked with government, but it's not necessarily very fast. So they were actually pretty good. Doing it in 2 weeks is actually pretty good for a government agency. So, I do want to say we've had a lot of success with the government, and, a lot of support from them. So it's actually not bad, but we will be starting. But then once we're started, we're here for the long term. We're going to be here for quite a while. We have a contract right now with the government that goes until the end of October, and maybe renewed depending. If I look back at the Fort McMurray operation in Edmonton, we were there for 18 months. We from the start to the time that everybody was back in their homes. Those that wanted to go back to Fort McMurray went back to their home. The homes were rebuilt, and we were able to send them all the goods. We got lots of furniture that came in, and it was great because the people, were able to get that furniture, but they can't get it until the house is rebuilt. So we had to wait. We had to hold on to all of these furniture and all these stocks and everything that we had for 18 months until we were able to send everything back to Fort McMurray. And then we worked with other agencies. We had a lot of leftovers, but those leftovers were then sent to other agencies who actually do this kind of work anyways. So like Salvation Army, they have thrift stores, other groups, Red Cross, whatever, group that needed this. So we transferred over whatever was left over from stock that we received. We transferred to those agencies. And then they continue. Actually, we have the Adventist Church in Fort McMurray also had some things, and they have a bit of a thrift store kind of donation center that they support the people in the community on an ongoing basis. Even if people are back from the fire, they're back home. There's still needs. There's still people that have difficulty. And that's going to go on. So our church in Fort McMurray continues to help people using some of the goods that we kept for that purpose. So that's the idea. We receive the goods, and we coordinate, with the community collection centers. There's people collecting goods right now all over the province. There's the organized group like Red Cross, Salvation Army are some of the ones that usually do this. But there's also I've got already about 12 different private agency or private people that have called through the government and have been referred back to me, and they say, I've got a truckload of stuff, where do I send it? So we've already got all of that lined up. I said, hold on, give us a few more days until we have our warehouse ready, and then we will send you a truck, or you can send your truck if you have a truck, bring it over here. So it's already, the work is ongoing, but collection is a big thing. We hold the warehouse. We work mostly from the warehouse, and then the distribution is usually done through some of those agencies that are already on the ground. In some cases where there isn't one of these agencies, some of our churches, do have a Adventist Community Services group that will help people in need. So if they have certain clients, or if people have been evacuated and are staying in that community, we have a church there, we will work with the church that's there to arrange for them to be able to distribute things to the people who evacuated, the people that have lost their homes, things like that. So there's different ways for the goods to get to the people, and we will work with anybody out there, any agency, organization, including, of course, a lot of our churches around the province. So that's where we are right now, and that's a quick overview of the this gives you a bit of an idea of the advancement team, the people that are usually there. So we have of course team leader, public information officer. We work for messaging. We want to make sure that our members are aware of the work that we're doing, so we're putting messages online. If you had a chance to go to the ADRA.ca website, it gives a bit of an overview of what we're doing right now. And then we have a number of positions, key positions that need to be filled right away, and we're working right now. We've got a few of those already, but a few other people. Those are mostly from ADRA staff. And then we have volunteers to supplement, to support those people. I think, so that's what I wanted to go to, just to give you an overview of the incident management system, so that if you're going to be working with us in any kind of position, you have an idea of the big picture, how everything comes together. That's the idea. If we could switch to the other presentation, please, and just bear with me here. I'm going to switch with the I got to stop sharing for a minute and then go to the other one, and then we'll come back in a minute. Okay, got to share again, and this time this one here. Oops. Okay, so now I'm going to go into the details of how a warehouse functions, how what we're doing right here, what we're setting up right here in Coldstream. What is it going to be looking like? How is it going to operate? What are we going to be doing from there, to give you an idea? And then, so that's the warehouse operation aspect I'm going to go over. And for the people online as well, you may not be here in BC or in Coldstream, but if we're doing other work somewhere else in the country, it's pretty much the same kind of system. So a warehouse operation, we start with a facility, and that's what we're able to secure. We need something pretty large. Sorry, the facility we were able to get in Coldstream, the whole facility itself is 450,000 square feet. We were able to obtain 150,000 square feet. So it's pretty big. It's about the size of I'd say about 3 arenas, three rinks, ice rinks. Just to give you a picture of how big it is, a rink is about 50,000 square feet. So put 3 rinks together, and that's the size of warehouse that we have right now. And that's about the size that we had in Edmonton as well. So pretty big facility, but believe me, it fills up. It fills up very quickly. People are sending things. Yesterday, we had 1 truck that came in. We had to take it because the gentleman that had the truck needed to empty the truck early to get the truck back to work. So we got a small group of people to come and help us. And this gentleman is from the Knights of Columbus. That's another group we work with. Great people, very, very active and very strong, and want to work with us. So they were there yesterday, and we emptied a whole a 53-foot truck full of stuff. And lots of furniture, lots of a bit of clothing, some food, a lot of toys. So we emptied it, and it already takes quite a lot of this, a good portion of space that right from the start. So we know it's going to be needed, that kind of a space. So if you have a chance to come and work with us, to volunteer with us, you'll get to see what we get. But the picture on the screen gives you a bit of an idea of when we start, what it looks like. And there's different types of warehouses. This one is more of the one we have here in BC is more of an industrial. So it's not as fancy. It doesn't have all the lighting, and it does have lights, but not as fancy. It doesn't have a ceiling. It's really just the roof, the metal roof, way up top. So it's maybe a little less fancy than the one you've got on the picture here, but it's going to work for us, and that's the main thing. But we need space, but we need space, for the shelving. We put shelves eventually, and then pallets and boxes. It needs to have loading docks for the trucks to come in, unload there, and we have staff working there, or volunteers where we have a triage area. I'll get into what triage means in a minute. Shipping, receiving. We need office work. As I said, we need to be accountable. We need to keep records and all that. So we need office space. We have to have a place for volunteers to register, the sign in, sign out aspect. Some break rooms. Everybody needs to take a break. We don't work 8 hours without stopping. So there's break room, lunch room, manager's office. Sometimes we deal with the clients. Typically, we don't do distribution at the warehouse itself. We don't want to do, but occasionally we may get a group coming in and wanting to discuss their needs, all that, and a place for the truck drivers to stay, to wait, while their truck is being unloaded. Typically, the truck drivers will not unload the truck. It varies. Sometimes they do. They'll say, "Okay, I'll volunteer my time." But typically they're there to drive the truck, get it from point A to point B, and they don't unload. So they wait for the volunteers, but they have to have a place where we provide for them to stay. So that's a facility requirement. I'm not going to go over that again. We just saw it but the incident management system is what we use, and those are all the different positions that we have in there. Remember both sides. So that's you can see here the colors again, just to give you an idea. But that's all of the positions that are needed for team leaders and supervisors position. And then underneath each of these boxes, there are a number of volunteers that work at doing whatever the task that's needed there. So. And then they need, as part of the facility, again, they need places. So we need meeting rooms. We need a place for volunteer orientation. We need to be able to have various places where people are going to be working from. There's the warehouse itself, where that's mostly the operations group that works from. And then we have offices for the rest of the staff that are doing more of the administration work, the order, the purchasing. And things like that, and the planning. So those are the kinds of needs that we have for the facility itself. And then in the end, and then breakout lunch rooms so people can take breaks. So that's how we set up. Again, this is the color scheme. So green is for command, red or orange here in BC. It's orange. Orange is for operation. Blue for planning, yellow for logistics, and administration has gray. And these gives you an example of the kinds of vests. These are specialized vests that go over your clothes, and then they can be reused by different people. They have different, they're made so that you can extend it. There's Velcro that you unzip so that it can be made bigger if you need, or smaller depending on who's using them. So they're very flexible, and it has lots of little pockets where you can pens and paper and whatever you need. So they're very good vests. And actually they're made right here in BC. They're made in Vancouver. The company that we get them from is right here. It's called Fast Emergency Limited, and they do a very good job with that. And there's a little sticker. I don't know if you can see in the corners. There's a little place where you can have your name tag, or we usually put is the title of the person, the position that person is working at. So that we use those vests, very, very efficiently. And like I say, it makes it easy to find the people that you want. We need a lot of equipment. So we have forklifts, we have pallet jacks, the ones that you pump and then you just pull, and we have hand trucks or dollies. We have lots of pallets. We go through hundreds and hundreds of pallets because we put everything on pallets, and when the truck arrives, if we were shipping, we just put the thing on, the pallet, and the pallet goes in the truck. It's very easy to load. So everything we do, everything we package, we put on pallets and sorted. But before it gets sorted, you can see the picture there. When it arrives, it's all mishmash. It's all all mixed up, and so we put them in usually in what we call Gaylord boxes. So a Gaylord box is one of those metal, those big boxes that have a metal, around it, guard, so that it stays there. It may be sometimes we don't get the Gaylord metal, we get them in cardboard, but they're heavy duty cardboard. So we get that, but that also is put on the pallet so that we can move it around to work on it. And when we get it, particularly with clothes, any kind of garment, they go in the Gaylord boxes first, and then from there we go and we do the sorting. So we need Gaylord boxes, we need tables to work with, packing tape, boxes, lots and lots of boxes, and then the stretch wrap, so that when we put things on the pallet, we put the boxes, but then we stretch wrap so that the boxes don't move when they're in the truck. So that's the whole planning preparation of that. The vehicle loading and unloading is usually mostly done with by pallets, but we do get a lot of trucks that come in that things are not on pallets. So we also need have dollies, and we need people with the arm strength to put things on a pallet, and then we move the pallet out of the truck. The forklift operators have to be certified, so you can't just jump on a forklift and start running it. You have to have a certification. You have to have a license. So we always look for people in wherever we are that have that license, that have that certification. Usually we are able to find at least one or two people that have that, and we're able to work with, but that's a requirement. We use loading docks, and then other people who don't have the forklift certificate can still use pallet jacks and dollies, and there's still possibility of that. And then we keep an inventory. So when we receive goods, we determine approximately, of course it's an estimate because we're not going to count every piece as it comes in, but we have an idea of generally how much stock we're getting. So we're getting a full truck. Yesterday we had 53 foot truck, and we separate. We had so much furniture, we had so much clothing, so much toys. So a general idea. We had 10 boxes of clothing, 5 sofas, 20 table sets. So it's fairly general when we receive it, but just so that we're accountable again, we determine what are we receiving generally from each truck that comes in. So we keep a record, and then we want to be able to show that what we received actually goes to the people that need it. We want to make sure that we do occasionally get accused of taking things for ourselves, and so we want to make sure that we can prove, as close as possible, that we actually sent everything to the people who actually need it. So that's why the accounting, the record keeping is very important. We move to the next one. We put a lot of signage. Make sure that everything, so outside, if anybody needs the truckers and all that, know where exactly to go. We try as much as possible not to publicize the address of the warehouse. Again, the warehouse is not for people to come in and drop off things. The private, to drop off things. We work with agencies that will receive that, the collection points, with, again, Red Cross, Salvation Army, Samaritan's Purse, Team Rubicon, and many other, United Way. They all, there's a lot of food banks as well that receive goods, and they know where we are. We don't want the general public to know where we are, because we don't want to have lineups of people coming in to drop off stuff. We want them to go to the collection centers to do that. And then at the same thing, we don't do any distribution from the warehouse. All the distribution is done from remote locations. That way it limits the number of people that actually show up at the warehouse, and we can keep a better control of it. The trucks that come in are coming in by appointment, so that we don't end up having 25 trucks in the parking just waiting, and only a handful of volunteers. So we schedule everything. We make sure that the trucks are only by appointment, and then when they arrive, we're ready for them. And we can do the work. So a lot of signage inside, also for volunteers, wayfinding, where are things, but also all of the different things that we receive are categorized. And there's, a category, we're going to place clothing in here, but not just clothing, but we have women's clothing, men's clothing, children. So it's all separated so that it's easy for us to find what we need. And then we have signs to say, this is where we put this kind of thing, furniture, toys, you name it. It's all separated and very well signed so that people can find it fairly easy. So the staff and volunteers can find it easily. So the picture here gives you a bit of an idea of how the signage works. There's different ways we put it up, but that's the idea, is that we want to make it easy. And then the signage outside. So we have our own signage, ADRA Canada, for particularly in places where we're going to be. We do get some media coverage. So the media comes in. We get the press coming in and wanting to do a bit of a story about what we're doing here. For them, it's a good news story in a way, so they like that. So we do get that. We want to make sure that we're well identified. ADRA is well recognized. We're building our reputation as well in Canada as a support agency in disaster, and so we want that to be recognized. And so signage is an important part of what we do as well. We usually set up a volunteer registration, so where the volunteers are going to show up, and we make sure that we have people there to sign in, sign out, register. And so actually my wife coordinates the whole volunteer registration aspect, and we have signage to make sure that people don't forget. You got to sign in, you got to sign out. So we have little signs here and there at the doors. Did you sign in? Did you sign out? And so that people remember that. So let me explain to you a little bit how the sorting process works. There's a number of different steps. I'm just going to go through quickly, then I'll explain. So, of course, there's a collection at the front end. Like I said, there's different places where people are collecting goods and they're ready to send it to us. I have about a dozen organizations out there in the province that are waiting for me to give them the green light to send a truck, or waiting for me to send them a truck to pick up what they've got. So that's the collection part, and then there's a number of things. So everything which is non-clothing goes into storage immediately. We're going to put it aside and hold on to it until we're ready to distribute. The food, we usually work with food banks. So we have right now some connections with some of the food banks, but we also have a connection with Food Banks Canada, who oversees all of the food bank system in the country. And so if they know from some of their members that there's a need somewhere, we can send them, if we have it in stock, we send them what they need. So the food goes aside, ready to go to food banks. And then anything else, and particularly the garments, go through a certain process. So first there's an assessment. The first thing we do is we ask ourselves, is this a piece of clothing that I would wear? And if it's torn, it's stained, it smells, we don't have time to do wash. We don't, so if it's in any poor condition, we will either recycle it or discard it. We try to work with recycling plants, and there are fiber recycling plants, and we're actually trying to source one here in BC. But there are fiber recycling plants where what they do is they mash up the fiber and they put it together into new things. So I don't know exactly how the process works, but I know. But what they do is they buy our material that's unusable by the pound. They give us money, and we send the money to the Red Cross to give to the victims, the survivors. So the recycling, but we also do scrap metal. We do electronics, and anything that we know can be recycled. Of course, plastic and cardboard and paper. We do as much recycling as we can from what we get, and then there is a certain amount of waste, but we try to limit the waste to the absolute minimum. And so there's an assessment that says, is this something that go recycling? It goes into a recycling bin. If it's not something we can recycle, then it goes to garbage, it goes to waste. So that's the first step, is the assessment. And then there's a sorting. So things that we keep actually go, and that's, I'm talking mostly of garments, they go to the next process. So very quickly here, we need to have in our facility, we need to have space allocation for anything that's non-clothing. So furniture, we get bicycles, believe it or not, we get lots of bicycles, small appliances. I think on yesterday in the truck there were about 3 microwave ovens, 3 microwaves there. So we get TVs, you name it. Pet care, a lot of pet care stuff, and then cleaning products, which is important because these people have been evacuated from their homes. When they're going to go back, that home is not going to be in the best of condition. They're going to need a lot of cleaning products to be able to do the cleanup of their homes. If they haven't lost it, the home, they've lost electricity, they've lost water. So when all of that comes back, there's going to be a huge cleanup operation that's going to be needed, and they'll need cleaning supplies. So if we get those, we hold on to them. And sorry, I forgot. Sorry, yeah. So this is the whole process. So I'm going to go into more detail. So anything which is not clothing is sorted and stored, and those are some of the things that we get. Disposables, also paper plates and cups, and child products as well, including a lot of toys. We get a lot of toys, coloring books, and just books. We get a lot of that as well. So that goes into storage. The food, as I said, the food goes to food banks. We will hold on to it until the food bank is ready to receive it, but then it's put separately. And then when the food banks are ready, either they send us a truck or we send them a truck full of food. There's a few things that we don't take. There's a few items that we will not take. So one thing we're not allowed by public health and just for sanitation purpose is underwear. No second-hand underwear is allowed. So if we do get that, that goes in garbage, or recycling if we can. But and then the other one is shoes. And the reason we were told is that we can't take shoes is because everybody walks differently. Your weight load is different. All this. So if you use your shoes, you actually model the shoes models to your way of walking, and it becomes, and if you give it to somebody else, it could cause some harm in their feet. So we do not give a used shoe. We will give only if it's brand new, it's got the sticker on it, it's never been used, those we will give, but otherwise we don't give shoes. So just make sure that we know that. And then there's a few other things that we don't handle. So firearms. And believe it or not, we do. Not so much in Canada, but in the States, they get them regularly. People think, oh, hey, I'm going to donate my rifle or my gun, and people are going to be happy to get that. Not here, not in Canada. And we well, in the States either, they don't get our ACS brothers and sisters in the States don't take it. We just say, if you want to do that, go to see the police office, police station, and give it there. We don't take it. So firearms are out of the question. Medication, we're not allowed to take medication because we can't. There's all sorts of needs and there's secondary effects and all that. So we don't take medication. Hazardous materials, so things that we will take cleansing products as long as they're still closed, they're brand new, they haven't been opened. But anything which is a hazardous material, we will discard. We'll take paint, we'll take things like that that are for construction, as long as it's brand new. It hasn't been opened. Otherwise, we don't take that. Any combustible, we stay away from combustible. Matches, we don't take matches because, of course, particularly here in BC, with everything that's happening now, certainly anything that could cause a fire or extend on the existing, we try to stay away from. So we refuse those. And as much as possible, electronics, because we don't have time to start to test it to make sure that it's working or not. So we generally don't use electronics. We don't. Occasionally, if we're able to find an electronics company that will want to come and work with us, and they'll set up a little table somewhere and they want to do it, test it, good for you, we'll do that. But typically, we don't have the capacity, the time, and the skill to be able to start testing anything that's out there in terms of electronics. So we stay away from those. So as I mentioned, we try to recycle a lot, and we try to be discreet when we do that, particularly with non-Adventist volunteers. We do get a lot of volunteers that just from the public. We want to make sure that they understand that the reason why we're discarding something, we're getting rid of something, we want to make sure that. We did have, funny enough, when I go back to the Saguenay, we had actually a local newspaper that got a call from one of our volunteers saying, these people are throwing so much stuff away. There's bins, there's dumpsters, they're full of garbage and they're throwing everything away. And the journalist didn't check and just made an article in the paper the next day and criticizing how we were throwing things away. And so we invited them to come and see, and we put him on at the front line where we opened the bags, and we said, okay, we gave him a mask and we gave him goggles and gloves, and we said, you open those bags and you tell us what you find in there. And believe me, the kind of stuff that we find in those bags, in those garbage bags, it can be in terrible condition. That's why we equip people with a mask, and it's not just your little medical mask. It's what we call an N95. So it's a protective. It's what they use in the hospitals for nurses. So because that's the kind of, you open that, there could be all sorts of acid coming in depending on how long that the clothing or the things that have been in the bag. It can be very hazardous. So we make sure that we protect our people. So we brought this journalist, got him to open that. After about an hour, said, okay, I get you. And we showed him the dumpster and what was in there and said, okay. And the next day he wrote another article, and now he was blaming the people for sending the bad stuff. So huge people should be ashamed of sending that to ADRA. And I'm sorry that what I said yesterday, I shouldn't have said that. I should have checked first. And I guarantee you that ADRA is doing a fabulous job, doing this. But you people should be ashamed of what you're sending. So anyway, we still want to be discreet as much as possible, but it happens. So we try to arrange for recycling as much as we can. Am I going here? Right? Yeah. So we do assessment. So how do we, when we open the bag, and I'm talking about bags because that's the most complex. A lot of the other things, we can just park them and that's not a problem. But when you open a bag, how do you decide whether something is good or not? And it's a principle of human dignity. It's not because these people have lost their homes or are out, they're victims, we call them survivors. It's not because that they'll take just anything you send them. There's still a principle of human dignity, and we want to respect that. We want to send them things that are in good condition, that they will be able to use. And again, we say, is this something that I would wear? Is it in a condition that I would do that? And if it's not, then don't think that the survivors will use it just because they'll take anything. So that's the principle. So we sort for various things. The clothing with stains, bad smells, torn, ripped, missing buttons, broken zippers, things like that. It's all discarded. We don't have time to start sewing buttons and all that. We did have a group back in the Saguenay that the ladies, I forget the name now, the ladies auxiliary or something like that, that said, oh, send it to us, we'll do that. And they did. So said, okay, sure. So we did have some, when it was minor little repairs and they wanted to do, buttons missing and things like that. So we put a bag aside, and then once in a while, the ladies would send somebody to come and pick up that bag, and they'd fix it and they bring the clothing back later. But we don't typically have the time to do that. We don't normally. We also had people that were good. We had a couple of mechanics that were good, and they said, we'll fix the bicycles, because the bicycles also come in all sorts of, missing chain, missing whatever. And we don't have time to repair them. So if the bicycle is not working, forget it. It goes to garbage or scrap metal. But these couple of mechanics said, hey, we'll fix your bikes. And what they take is they take a piece from one bike and they put on another, and they come out with a fully functional bike afterwards. And then it would be left with only a few leftovers here that we had to throw away. So if you got people that can do that and you got the time, great. Typically, we don't have the time. We can't do that. But so a lot of it is taken away, So the people at that stage that open the bags, really, we provide them with masks and even goggles, because we find that sometimes there's things in there that we don't know what it could spray in their eyes. So we give you goggles, masks, gloves. Of course, that's what we do. We want to protect our volunteers. So once we get the assessment is done, these are all good clothing. They go in a Gaylord box, and they wait for the next stage. So the next stage is the sorting. And what we do is we sort for the categories. So we have women, men, girls, boys, infant, and linen. So there's basically one Gaylord box can end up into 6 Gaylord boxes. The people that are just opening the bags, they're just assessing, it's in good condition, goes in a Gaylord box. Somebody else, the next stage, will take that Gaylord box and say, okay, that's for men, that's for women, and separate it into another series of boxes, where after that we do the measuring. Because we, when you get a brand new garment that has a little tag in the back, often, when you get a used garment, a lot of people cut the tags. They don't like to have them there. It tickles in the back, or so they cut it. Or a lot of people who are simply with use, the size disappears. So we don't know what size that garment is. So we have to measure. So we have tables, and we put a measuring tape, and we measure, and then we have charts that say this is large, so much is large, so much is medium, extra large, whatever. So we measure. So we have a team of people, volunteers, that's all they do, is they take the garment, and they measure it. We have little stickers that we put on the garment that says what size it is, whether it's men, boys, girls, and then we put that on the garment itself, so that the next stage people will know, what size is this? We keep track of that. So that's the measuring part. We do the measuring. And then once the measuring is done, then we put the tag, like the little sticker, on the garment to make sure that we know what it is. And then it goes to being folded. So we fold every piece of garment, and there's people that are better and others. I'm not very good at folding, but there's a lot of people that are good at doing this, and we get them to fold the garment so that it looks good. We want to make sure that the people that are going to receive it's going to be just as good as if it was new. We want to give them that impression. Show, again, it goes that human dignity, that respect. We want to help those people and make them feel good about receiving something. So we tag them, we measure them, they know exactly what they're getting, and they're folded. It's nice, it's a nice presentation. And then typically we don't always have, but we try to put them in bags. So sorting, we sorted in different categories, but then also we can sort it into different types of garments. So you've got, hold on a sec here. Yeah, so we got pants, shirts, ties, vests, sweaters, whatever, or dress, skirts, blouse, sweater. So we try to separate it as well, so that in the end, things are going to go in boxes, but in that box, you only have one type of garment. It's everything that's in that box is the same, so that we know exactly what it is. And when people are asking us for a certain type of garment, then we can send them a box, and we know that that's what they're getting. So we separate it in the type of garments as well during the sorting process. And then we do this measuring. These are all pictures taken of actual emergencies. Some of them in Canada, some of them in the States, but where people, the volunteers do the measuring. You can see on the picture on the left-hand side there, there's one of the charts there where we've got the tape that tells them where it's small, medium, large. It's on the table itself. So these are the people that are measuring, and then they're putting on the tag. On the right-hand side, you've got the young lady that's sitting there is just writing the tag, just writing the sizes. Somebody calls out, I've got a 14 size, whatever, and just writing it, giving the sticker, and the person put the sticker on the garment. And we try to, if we can, to put them in bags, but we will put them in boxes in the end, and then they go for storage until either we get a call from a distribution center saying, okay, we ran out of men's pants, or we ran out of blouses, and then we send them a box or two of certain things, and we try to coordinate that with them with the transportation, so that they can give it to whoever needs it out there. So we hope. The other thing that happens is that if people have lost their homes, no sense in sending them furniture. There's no place to put it. So we hold on, and that's why we do the warehousing. The warehousing is that we hold on to all of these things until the people's homes are rebuilt and they're able to get them. So that warehouse that we've got over here, somewhere Coldstream, over there, okay, yeah, in Coldstream. So that warehouse that we have now is going to be there for a while, because we're going to keep these furniture, at least the heavy items. The small items, like the personal care, for example, we get a lot of shampoo and things that they can use right away. So with that, we can send out. But the big items, there's no place to put them. So we're going to hold on to it. And then when the people are back in their homes, then we will start sending it. That's the idea of the warehousing. And then we have the order pulling. So once we get a request, we get an order from a distribution center somewhere. They say we need this, when you can list. And we have volunteers that go, and they go to all the pallets and the shelves, and they pick up what is required, put it on a pallet together, and it's ready to go into a truck and be sent out. That's the order pulling, and then the shipping. So that's the process. It gives you a quick idea. So we pack in cardboard cartons. We keep as much as possible. We keep the same size. We have a standardized size for boxes so that they don't wobble. If you're using different types of different boxes, it becomes very wobbly in the truck. So we try to use as much as possible all of the same size. Put them on a pallet. We wrap them with the plastic so that they stay together, and then we ship it on a pallet. And then we seal all the boxes and we store it until needed. These pictures here give you a bit of an idea of that operation: bagging, sealing the boxes, and then stacking all the boxes until they're ready to go on pallets. And this is general. This is what we get. Oh yeah, one thing we get a lot of bottled water. That we don't necessarily need it, but we get it. So we try to tell people we've got enough. Don't send more water. We usually get too much water. Send that. So we do distribute some of it in the shelters, the places where people are staying, but we always have too much water. That's one thing. But the picture here gives you an idea a little bit of what it ends up. We start with back, and I think I have a before and after picture after that. Okay, that's the order pulling. So you can see this person has prepared an order. There's a sticker on the boxes there. Pick up all the goods that are needed. It's pulling it, and it's going to go to the truck. And of course, we do put a sign here that this is not for resale. We want to make sure that people at the other end are not going to start selling the goods. That these are donated goods, so they should go to people free. And then the shipping aspect is we use truck. This is in Quebec. We had the ADRA truck there, so it's in French. Service Adventiste Communautaire, Adventist Community Services, and ADRA combined. So we were using that truck, and because it was just a cube van, we couldn't put the pallets on it. We didn't have equipment, so that they were loading the truck by hand. But so that's also a possibility. We were also, by the way, we were working from an arena. We had an arena in that one. We didn't have a warehouse, and so that was the only thing we were able to find was an arena. But we made it work. So that's about where we are. We usually do a little exercise. How are we doing for time, Daniel? Did we lose Daniel here? Okay, I think I lost Daniel. So what we usually do when we're in class, it's more difficult when, in this with the Zoom session, and I didn't know how many people we'd have here to be able, but what we do is typically we look at a layout and we determine how would we set up a warehouse, where would things be. So let me see if I can, hold on. So let me see if I can find a warehouse model here. I had some, oops, not this one. And we can maybe together try to determine where we could have a warehouse. Pictures here. Warehouse. Where's my warehouse? No, not here. All right, bear with me. Warehouse. There it is. Okay, there we go. So let's take an example here of the warehouse layout, and then we'll work through it. So this is, for example, this is let me put it on the screen here. Oh, how am I going to put that on? Oh, it's not a PowerPoint. Sorry, I can't do it this way. Oh, okay. Having a problem there, and we can't. You can't get the Zoom to put it on there, eh? Oh, shoot. Okay. Sorry, guys. I'm thinking aloud there. I'm trying to get through the problem. Typically what we do is we give you a layout of a warehouse, what it looks. So on the PowerPoint itself, you have a number of examples. Let me go back to the PowerPoint here. So on that chart here, you've got a number of examples of layouts. And what we do is we determine, okay, where's the entry point? What's the flow of the goods? Where is going to be stored? Where are the items that are going to stay there for a long time going to be put? Usually we try to put them more at the back because that way they're not in the way of the stuff that is going to go in and out rapidly. And then where do we put the office? Where's the sign in for the volunteers and all of that process? So that's what we typically do in a warehouse exercise. So we usually have that when we have a classroom environment. I have little samples of, and I distribute that, and we work in teams to do that. Unfortunately, I wasn't expecting this today, so I'm not quite ready. Sorry about that. But it's definitely what you can do is if you do want to come and work with us as volunteers, particularly the people in the church here, you want to, we can certainly have you. You'll get to see what a warehouse is like when you come down. You'll get the feeling of that layout. We'll do that. For the people online on Zoom, there's various. I think you can see from the PowerPoint there from the slides, and then we'll make the slides available so you can get an idea of some of the layouts we have. For example, the one that you have there on the left-hand side, that's an arena. That's the arena, the example of the arena that we had when we were in the Saguenay. Basically, the difficulty with that one is that we only had one point of entry. The place where the Zamboni comes in, it was the only place we could get trucks in. So we had to have the same in and out, and plus it wasn't a loading dock because it was ground level. So we had additional challenges there in trying to load the trucks, unload the trucks, and all that. But we had a flow in that the things would start at one end of the arena where the trucks would arrive, and then we put things most of the sorting was done on the right-hand side of the arena, and then going around, the packaging and the boxing would go at the end of the arena, far end, and then you had the big items were on the other side of the arena, waiting to be able to be shipped, and so that we didn't have to transport them too far. And then the boxes were filled completely at the end, put on pallets, and then brought back to the front, so they'd be closed to be able to go into the truck. So, you know, we had to make arrangements. We used some of the change rooms, the hockey change rooms, as supply, cabinets and or places we put our supplies. And then there were a few offices we were able to access that they let us use. So you have to work with what you get. And it was small, but we made it work. We had to rotate stuff a little faster, so we had to send trucks up to the area, the Saguenay, the Chicoutimi, and Robertval, and those places fairly quickly. We were working actually with the St. Vincent de Paul Society, and they are like the Salvation Army, and they have a lot of thrift stores. And they knew the communities, and they were established in the communities that were affected. There were 12 communities there that were affected. They knew them, so we felt it was better to work with them and let them do the distribution, because they knew their client, they knew the people. And so we had a very good relationship with them, and we would send them trucks full, and they were given an abandoned post office, an old post office. They were given that as a place for them to be able to do a centralized distribution for the 12 communities. So we would send trucks to this post office, and the St. Vincent de Paul people would unload the trucks, and they'd use the same system as we used to put all the boxes and everything that they had very easily. And then when people would come to the post office to pick up goods, they had a system where they'd ask people to write down, what do you need? And then somebody would go and pick up, all of these items one at a time, put it in the box, and give the box to the person with exactly what they've asked for, the right sizes, the right kind of garment. It made it a lot easier. The fact that we had done all this sorting and identification at the front end, the St. Vincent de Paul people were so happy to see that, because they used our system and they said, yeah, that's how we're going to be able to give it to people. They could find things very easily. Whereas the first week or two, when they were receiving these bags, and they're basically then trying to find in a bag what you need is just impossible. What eventually happened is that all of the bags that they had received were put on the trucks. So we would send a truck with boxes. They'd unload the boxes, put the boxes aside, and then they'd fill the truck with bags, which would come back down to us. We were near Trois-Rivières, which was about 150 kilometers away from the area. So we were there, and they would send the bags back down in the truck. Then we would take them, sort them, put them in boxes, and send them back, but all sorted. So that was our job. And we did, we had over 50,000 pieces of garments that we processed that way. Fort McMurray, we had about 500,000 pieces of garment that were processed there, and that's not counting all of the other stuff. We had, I think altogether, including disposable, which is like knives and forks and plates and things like that, we had about 6 million pieces that were processed through our warehouse in Edmonton for the Fort McMurray. So it's a huge operation. And like I say, right now we've only had one truck, and we've already filled a small section of the warehouse already with furniture and things. So it picks up very quickly. And so I don't know if there's questions, both in here in the room or online. I'd be ready to answer questions if you have. I'm going to stop sharing. Very good question. So typically we aim to work, to take the Sabbath off, but the reality is that we can't always do that. We're not doing it for us, we're doing it for other people. And in an emergency, so we are available if there is work to be done, if there's trucks that they can only come on Saturday. Like yesterday, we had one truck, that truck from the Knights of Columbus, Came on Saturday, said that's the only time I can be down there. So we said, okay, we'll take it, we'll do it, and we did the work. We emptied the truck, but we try not to use to work on the Sabbath. But the reality is that we may be forced to work 7 days a week. So and we can schedule. But the other thing is that we are respectful of other religions as well. So if people want to take the Sunday off, we will try to schedule it so that they can, so our brothers and sisters, Adventists can have the Sabbath off, and then other religious groups can have the Sunday off, or even we've worked with Muslims and they like to have the Friday off, because the Friday is prayer day. So we respect, we'll take people from any background. We don't make any discrimination at all on that. As long as they want to work with us and they follow our procedures, we'll work. So 7 days, we typically work from about 9 o'clock in the morning to about 6 in the afternoon. But again, we make shifts. So if it's too long for some people, if they don't only want to give us a half a day, that's fine. We do. We even had in some places where we actually had a lot of people coming in, particularly at the beginning of the emergency, as things start to settle down and as the fire season gets over and all that, we may not need as much. So we may actually reduce the number of work hours, but to start with, we know it's going to come fairly fast. So we even had evening shifts. So we broke it down into a day shift and an evening shift if people wanted, because there were people who were saying, well, I can't work during the day, but I can come after work and come and give you a few hours. So we created some evening shifts, and we had people come in for maybe a 4-hour shift in the evening after when they come back from work. So there's flexibility. So there's a general operating hours that we try, but we'll adjust it as needed and as we find out what the volunteers are. Yeah, no, that's a very good question, definitely. Yeah, please.
You were saying you don't want people coming out to the site, so if we're sharing the print or whatever that are from the Adventist background, where could we tell them they can take the donations if they want to?
That's a good question. I'm going to find out exactly, and we'll get back to you on that because I'm not sure in Vernon who exactly is taking things right now. But typically, we work the most closely is with the Salvation Army because they get them at thrift stores. And the Salvation Army is very good at doing that when they get little quantities. You have some stuff that you want to donate to the Salvation Army thrift store. You get a bag or you get a box and you send it, and they can handle that kind of a volume. But the kind of volume that we're getting right now is truckloads, and they're not equipped to do that. So they're happy to work with us. So they will receive the goods, but they want to send it to us. Or if they are told they get a truckload. If they get 1 box, 2 boxes, that's okay. But if they get truckloads, they'll send it to us directly. So anybody in the community that wants to give should go to, and I'll confirm that, but should go to either Salvation Army or maybe a Red Cross Center or places like that. And there's some other groups there's the Mennonites also. I don't know if there's any here, but the Mennonites also sometimes take goods, and they once they are there, they receive those goods, they call us and they say, okay, I got enough to fill a truck. Can you send us a truck? And then we do, and we pick it up and we bring it to the warehouse. Yeah.
So if they were someone that would be taking it there, would they say we want this to go to fires?
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. Exactly. And so the other thing is that when we started, it was all about Lytton. Lytton was the community that was affected. But now, there's communities all over the province that are being evacuated. Some are burning up. Unfortunately, so we're not limiting it to Lytton. It's now the whole province. So any needs that are expressed to us anywhere in the province, we will make available the goods that we have. Yeah. And so if anybody's we're getting calls. I'm getting a call. I got a call yesterday from a lady who's collecting stuff in Nanaimo. and she wants to send it over. So I said, well, that's starting to be a little far for us, but we will see what we can do. So I told her to hold on to it for a couple of days, give me a chance to get that organized. But yeah, so we're getting people that are offering goods from all over the place. We've even had a few offers from Calgary, so out of province. People are typically very generous. When they see that, people are moved by what they see. It's in the news, it's in the media, and people want to do something. So they feel, hey, if I give some of the things that I'm not using, if I give that away, I've helped. The problem is that there's so many people that are doing that it becomes a major endeavor to try to sort all that. And that's where we come in. And the government is very grateful that we can do that, because there's really no other agencies out there that are doing this kind of work. So I would say I will check, and maybe I'll send a message through for the church to know where exactly to go in Vernon. I have to say I'm not sure. We just arrived this week, and we're trying to get our bearings and find the things here. But who in Vernon is collecting goods, so that if anybody wants to donate, where they have to go? Yeah, it's a good question. Yes.
Just jumping in. Okay.
Oh, hold on a sec. I've got another question here, Daniel.
Okay.
I mentioned
Registration.
Yeah.
So where do you
So I will give you my wife's number. So you can. There's two ways. You can register directly online through the ADRA.ca website, and it has a number of questions, and that will then be sent. And like I say, my wife is a volunteer coordinator, so she will be getting those. Or I will give you, if you're not very comfortable with online, I will give you her phone number, and you will be able to either text her or call her, so that she can get your information and tell you, because she's going to be scheduling when the volunteers are needed, when they're going to be coming in. So we'll do that. Yes.
I understand before you can volunteer, you need a criminal record check.
Yes, absolutely.
How long does that process generally take? Like if we go to the RCMP today, how soon can we expect this check to come through?
It's a very good question. It varies from one, from one. I don't know here how fast exactly they are. It varies from one municipality. I've had them being done the same day while you wait, and in some places, in some places they say come back in 2 days, and so I don't have an exact answer for you. Typically, because we're in emergency, and we can provide you with a letter that you presented them, so that first they don't charge you. That's one thing, because in some places, I don't know if they do it here or not, but in some places the police will charge you something to have the check done and to get the paper. But we give you a letter that normally that letter is good enough to make sure that you don't get charged. You got that? So if you got that, yeah. So again, it varies, but usually because we're in an emergency and you're going to be working in emergency relief, they're usually trying to expedite it to go a little faster. So you may be able to get it the same day. No guarantees, but we try that. Pardon me? It's 25. Yeah, it's $25. Yeah, usually that's the price. $25, $30 for a police check be done. Now, if you've already had one done within the last 5 years, you don't need to redo it. Okay, that's the other thing. Is that I know that the conference has on file, if you've done it for the church, and the conference, the BC conference has on file your credit, your check.
But we were told it had to be within 3 years.
Okay, the BC. Okay, well, it varies a little bit from province to province. So maybe. Yeah, I know in Ontario 5 years is sufficient. Maybe it's 5 years. Okay, so if you've had it done within the last 5 years, you should be good. It's just a question of us knowing that you're coming and then putting in touch with the conference.
Just piping in here. We got some questions. I want to say thank you again, Elaine, for a great presentation. We have a few questions we want to field from the chat here, if you don't mind.
Please.
So
no, go ahead.
Let's do that.